You've mentioned religion a lot. Can you tell me what church was like for you when you were younger?
What church did the one I go?
What it was like, yep, when you were younger?
The church was strict, Let me say this to you. The church, my opinion is, the nuns and the priests were set up on a pedestal to look at, but not touch. And that's the way it run, And I thought some of the things, Catholic school is too strict, and that. But back then, like I say, that's the way things were. The priests were well, they were like St. Joseph Parish. They were the top, and that kind of went into your home. If in the school, if the priest went home or the nuns wrote a note and said to your dad he misbehaved and all this and that, can't do it, well, your dad took care of that problem, see? And like I said, they ruled. What the priest and the nun said was law. Mm-hmm. And that's what they believed. Right or wrong, it was law, see? And today, I think the priest has come down off of the pedestal, and so are the nuns. We don't have any more nuns here. But the priests want to get in and they want to be your buddy, or, they want to talk to you. Father Wilhelm has done wonderful here, of getting together with the parishioners and that, see.
When you were younger, was there ever a good reason to miss church?
To miss church?
Yeah. Or did you just always go?
Well, it wasn't. You always went to church. And after a while, it schooled into you that if you miss church, it's a mortal sin, see. That's what they're telling you, So you didn't miss church. But now, in the later years, it's just, hey, today's Sunday. My belief is that you should stop 1 hour out of the week and go to church. And if you sit there and just look up and say, thanks, Lord, for the week, and wander all you want. I went into church, and my mind was never on church 100% of the time because I was trying to solve problems too. And I found that peace in there where I could solve them, you know what I mean, in there. And so I did. And I look, and I got, come on, the church is over. See? But today, as you get older, you sit and you listen to the sermon, and stuff. And maybe if you like the priest, you pay more attention, see. And the complaining is, if Mass takes an hour and a half, well, I ain't going no place. I went there for an hour. And I go now, it's 4:30, and they have rosary before 4:30, right at 4:30, and then we pray the rosary before church. If I daydream too much, at least I said a rosary in church, see. And I got to tell you, when I was out painting, in there, I was solving a lot of problems in church. Half the time I was thinking about church, the other half, no. I couldn't honestly tell you that my mind was on church 100% because it wasn't, see. Because I went in with a problem, when I came out, I had the problem solved, see. And to paint a church, you have to plan. You got to plan because you're up in the air 40 feet, and everything. So you just don't whip in to do anything. You plan it all out how it's going to be done. And then you make sure you got all the equipment that you need. See? And that goes with anything that I do. I plan it, And just like the arboretums I work in, they're planned. They're all planned out in here. A lot of them were done in church. The man gave me the go ahead and do them, and I did the best I could. But I always ask different people, what do you think? What do you, and taking advice from here, you work them together and see. Like I told you, that arboretum, when I get done with it, I am going to be proud of it. Really, I'm proud of what's there now, see. But it's going to be something. When you come back next year, when the city has a centennial, you look for a couple of Catholics, you find Germans from Russia. There are a lot of nice people. Germans from Russia, that's a fact. And Germans from Russia, I don't know what it is. The Norwegians are like that too. You come in and you're there for a while, sit down and have coffee, or sit down and do this, or have supper or dinner, They want you, they want you. Just like I said, I want to take you two out. My wife and, and we're going to go out and have something to eat when we get done, see? That's the way I say my dad treated the Indian when he came with the wood. He fed him, and, and my dad never had any problem buying wood either, see?
Did your parents entertain a lot?
Did I what?
Did they entertain a lot of neighbors, or?
They would get together in the evenings and sit outside on this side of the house out here on a bench, they had a long bench, chew snooze and spit in the can and talk. And 90% of it was done in German, see? Yeah, the neighbors come over, they'd sit, or else he'd go some other place and they'd visit, In German, it's Maßstuf, you're making talk, see? No, there was nothing to come home and see 4 or 5 guys sitting out there, all with a snooze can in their hands, spitting in there. Can't spit on the sidewalk. See? Yeah, that's, they did. I think my dad and mother enjoyed, I know that. They enjoyed this country 100%. My mother and dad give 3 sons out of the 7 sons. We all served this country. My 2 brothers served in World War II. I served in Korea. My brother, the youngest one, served in the Army 3 years. My brother Julie and Cass served in the National Guard. Cass spent 40 years in the National Guard. Julie spent maybe 10 years in there, then he moved to California and stuff, see? And all 7 have served the country. Yeah. And 5 of us were in the National Guard, see? My younger brother joined the Army, and my other brother, second brother, oldest, he got drafted in World War II, see? And the rest of us, 5 were in the National Guard, see? And the National Guard was something that you could go to camp, you could make money, you know what I mean, get just like it's doing today, see? And I was so tired back then, they called you the weekend warrior, in the National Guard. And I always said, bull, weekend warrior, you know what I mean? Do you call them that today when you know that over 60% are over there? 60% of our strength in the military is the National Guard. They're no weekend warrior when you're sending the body home, But that was the word back when I was in it. Weekend warriors. So you had your guard drills on the weekend, you know what I mean, and that, see. Yeah. Like I said, the Army changed me, And see, one thing I never had I never drank or smoked. I was over 21 years old when I had my first drink, one just to celebrate. Never smoked. And I went through the Army, and I did start smoking. I don't know why, but you got them at dinner when you went through a place to eat, and they give you a pack of cigarettes. I had to be like the big boys, and I puffed Cools, And Cools were the cigarette I could trade off to have my clothes washed. See, they like Cool cigarettes. My second brother, don't smoke or drink to this day. He went through the Army, everything, And I have a glass of beer now. I like beer, in there. I never had a drink now this year till in December I quit, and I just started here a week ago where I have a glass of beer. Because I was proving something to myself. I went to the doctor, and my kidney thing was 1 point high. He said, don't worry about it. But it bothered me. I never touched another drop. And when I got all done, I was good. I can't say that getting off a beer did that, but my kidneys are good, see. My liver is good, see. But that's what I find out now later in life. Do you smoke? I did smoke, but I quit. I've been to 30 years old. Never smoked. Do you drink? No, I have a casual drink. And they all say how good that is for you, see. And I had this checkup with the vet's hospital here not too long ago. And the lady doctor, I've had her before, she said, do you smoke? No, I haven't smoked for 30 years. She said, that's good. See? And everything revolves around that smoking, you know, your lungs and stuff. So, I don't know, I never had that big of an urge.
Was that something that your parents instilled in you, not to smoke or drink, or?
No, never. My dad never said nothing about that. I liked ball, you know, I loved ball and to be an athlete. Well, you didn't smoke and you didn't drink. And my second oldest brother was probably more of an example to me because he hasn't smoked and drank to this day. See? And he played sports, you know, and that there. And I accomplished, you know, a lot of things in playing ball and stuff. I like to say I played baseball and that. And I sit back and I watch baseball. What they're getting paid today, I don't like that. And I think to myself, I play ball as good as they did or better. And they're getting millions of dollars for playing. And I could hit good, see. And that's something that the timing is all hitting baseball, or it is all timing, you know. And to hit a long ball, your wrists have to break it a certain way, you know. And it's a turnover of the hands. The wrist, when this returns over, is where the power is, see. So I enjoyed that. No, my dad had a drink. You know, he drank once in a while wine, mostly wine, you know. But my dad was never a big drinker. I don't think any of my brothers have been big drinkers, see. But it's not saying if you want, you know. And but they're just different things, you know. You go out on New Year's Eve and live it up, but you don't like the 3 days that come afterwards. See, that happened to me once. See, otherwise, no. My dad never told me about drinking, nothing, you know. And then people never talked about that. The big thing they talk about today is birth control, you know, and all this stuff and that. I never heard that. Growing up, nothing like that. That was a dirty word, see? And today, I'm not saying that's bad, you know, but maybe the way, for me, you learned it the hard way, you know. But like I say, he's brought up, I suppose that was dirty, you know, a bad word to be even talking about that, see?
Did your parents talk to you about anything like that?
Nothing, not a thing, no, nothing. Not a thing. You found out, you know. And no. Well, you know, getting married, you know, you go through a class, they're trying to explain. I didn't even have a class, see. But I know what the good book said, you know, in that. And I believe it to this day, you know. But the way they preach today, I mean, there's nothing to hear about stuff on TV or anything, you know, and I don't think it's right, yeah, personally, but I ain't going to say, you know, get up and wave a flag, you know.
So when you were, you know, a teenager and you started dating, how is it different than it is now?
I never had a car. That was a big difference. I used to pick her up on a bicycle. I'd go, she was staying in town from the farm, and I'd pedal up to where she was staying and leave the bike there and walk the show. We'd walk. Come back, walk to the house and kiss her goodnight, get on my bike and go home. The bike was faster than walking. See, yeah, there were no cars. I never owned a car till I went into service. 8 months before I went and had to go in the Army, I bought a car, and I had to get rid of it then, see. I had to sell it because I was making payments, you know, and I sold it. And like I said, when I got out of the Army, I bought a car, see. And today, a car is really necessary. Let me say this to you. When I grew up, the rich people drove around, and the poor people walked. And now the poor people are walking, and the rich people are walking, and the poor people are driving. That's what it is today.
All right. Did you have electricity growing up?
This house had one cord hanging down from the ceiling, and you pulled it, and then you had one in there that you pulled, the pull chain stuff. And later on, we hooked onto a light, and we had a radio to feed a radio, so you could listen to a radio and that. Yeah. We never had a lot of electricity. Never had a refrigerator, no nothing that took electricity, to speak of. The electricity and stuff came along as the years went by, water and sewer we dug in the south, from here, from the street in to have a bathroom. That came in the, I'd say, late 40s in the 50s, by the time we had a bathroom inside. The outhouse was all, and we carried all the water from the well in, then carried it out, with it. Yes, we had this coal stove. It's sure nice to turn up a thermostat. See, this is my Paul Harvey heater sitting there. You ever hear him advertise that? That runs 110. Cut my fuel bill in half. I run natural gas, and that's electric. I have more electricity, but I have less mix up in natural gas than I'm not burning. I'm not plugging it. But that's exactly what it is. We get off camera, but really, that's how nice it is. But no, it was, for my mother, the convenience in this house for the furnace and my dad was just something unbelievable. When you can sit there and turn the thermostat up and I'm warm, I'm warm during the night. You don't get up, have to stoke the fire and water, get over there. And, so I was pleased with that, really. And I'll tell you the funny story. I always, growing up with my dad, having to do all that. I was 16 years old, a joke now. I was 16 years old before I ever knew what my name was. I always thought it was get wood, get coal. See? Absolutely. Take the ashes out, get the water. Take the pail out, you didn't have a sink or nothing, you had a pail for that. We had a hole in the back where you dumped all that in, too, see? They had lime back there, Otherwise you create flies and that there. But see, my dad was smart enough to, to figure that stuff out. But no, like I say, not crying, but our chores were living. Water. Every day that we sit under the shower, we showered once a week.
And how did you do that?
What?
How did your showers work?
Well, we never really showered. We were in a bathtub. See, you had a tub, and all they did was kept adding water. See? But in the later years, like I said, when I worked for the railroad and that, we had to pump water. Them barrels out there were warm. There was nothing to take a bath out in that barrel. Climb into the barrel and wash up and all that, because he used it for, the garden. Went in the garden and that. See, the water. My dad believed that the water has to be warm for them cucumbers and that. See, get over there, and that's what we did then. See, but a bath was once a week. Scrubbing went on once a week. The floor was clean. You don't know it. But bath day was Friday night, Saturday night. Wash day was Monday. See, always on Monday. Like I said, Wednesday, I believe, was bake bread day and do all that stuff. See, they had days for all this stuff that they lived, today's Monday, Tuesday, had everything was lined up. In them days, that's exactly what you did. See. And the kids, I'd say, were all busy. They either had jobs, went out and worked for a few pennies, but things had to be clean. You go to my sister, the girls, you could eat off the floor. See, that's from my mother. See, that things had, the clean and that there. But you take two old people like this. Yes, there's a lot of things that you don't get up to snuff for, what I mean, and that. And we're now jawing over the thing about getting a lady, or two to come in. We had a couple ladies come in and clean too, But you think of the money, and then you think, And I just told her today we got to get somebody to come in at least once every 2 weeks. See? And I want to live in this house as long as I can. Till the Lord calls me home. My dad died in this house, see? Until he calls me home, you know. And the thing is, my wife isn't that great, you know. And it helped that we're on one floor. You know, she got that hip and we're on one floor. And the thing maybe what I'm really missing for her is a shower that she can get at. Now we have a shower in the tub. And she sits down on the stool I got in there, and I turn the water on, turn it off for her, help her in, help her out. You know, that's got to, you know, help her too. She can't see when she's shooting insulin. I got to set that, you know, do those things. It's just more responsibility now back to me. And my eyes, I had the cataracts taken off. My eyes came back to 20/20. The man upstairs has helped me out. The glasses are just for small print. See, that's all. I can see without them, you know. And I never thought that had ever happened to me. You know, you got to have, when they were off, I couldn't see nothing. I had to have them on. It's just kind of you're used to putting them on. But I take them off and I can see this, you know, as good as anything. But to sit there and look at that read, you know, it's just harder to, it's easier to do them with the glasses on, see, you know. No, that's...
So talking about that, when you were younger, did you ever go to an eye doctor? Was that
what were they? They lived in town or what? Huh? Oh, yeah, I didn't know they lived in town, eye doctors. No. I can't remember going to an eye doctor till I was old enough to go myself to find out something was going on. No.
How about dentists?
Dentist, not really. In the later, like I was just telling about teeth, in the later time, if you had a tooth in it, you went and paid for it yourself. They didn't do it, you know. But no, that wasn't in there saying, well, you better go to the eye doctor, or you better go to, you know, have this. No. And going to a doctor for every 6 weeks or 2 months or 3 months, no. If there was something wrong, they'd, you know, go to the doctor. But if the old home cures didn't do it, then you went, you know.
Do you remember any of the home cures?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about those?
Garbolic salve. That cured everything. I have a scar on my foot, on my right foot, that long, and it was open that wide. I cut, you know. And my mother never took me to the doctor. It should have been stitched shut. I have a big scar in there. Should have been, but between, I'm trying to think of underwear. It had that wool, you know, kind of in there. With the garbolic salve and washing it out with peroxide and all this in it and putting that healed up. It healed itself across. Yeah. Never had a day's problem with it either. I have diabetes in my feet, and I have arthropathy in my feet. But when I was in Korea, I had jungle rot in my feet, you know. And that was a bugger, you know, big white underneath, you know, pieces coming out, you know, and that there. And I think maybe that had something to do with what I'm going through now. See, that I don't walk good, you know. Like out cemetery, I'd fall over if I didn't have that cane out there, see. I fell down, you know, different times. But no, you went to the doctor if your mother or, you know, couldn't cure it. They had their own remedies. Earache, you know, they either wound up a big newspaper or set it on fire up here, and then you put it down in the real one in here, and that would kind of take care of the wax and stuff, you know. Yeah. If you had...
How did they do it?
Roll up a piece of newspaper into a funnel, then hold it and put the thin piece down in your ear and light the fire up on top. The heat would go down in there, see? And that's how they cured it. You know, when you coughed a lot, they'd take a teaspoon of sugar and put 3 drops of kerosene on it, then you'd eat it. And you'd quit coughing. Yeah, they had their own remedies, you know what I mean, and stuff that they used. But Garbolic salve is a product of Watkins product. They still sell it to this day. They had a deal down at the mall, and this lady that was selling it, she's from over east there, and she's selling it. She sold this product and put all her kids through college, she told me. But they have vanilla, all these spices in that, Watkins do. And that product, mentholatum and garbolic salve, is all still there to use. And I use it just about everything, you know. This is what's left me falling down at home, over at the other house. That is garbolic salve. Now it's red. I take penicillin, amoxicillin. My son sent me a bottle from Arizona. I went over to Mexico and bought it there and sent me. That's like penicillin, same thing, just as reduced deal. Yeah, I take. I showed the doctor that, and he said it's on. You know, I lost a toe on my right foot. I got a blister on it from rubbing in my shoe, and with being a diabetes, I had that thing just about healed, but I had a little hole on top. And I run into Dr. Trainer, came here for a basketball game from Fargo. He's from town, and I know him, and I go to him. And we went in the lunchroom, looked at that toe, and he said, Balzer, you still got infection in that toe. I went back and told Fanous, and he said, Trainer tells me I may have staph infection. He said, you have? I said, you never told me that. He said, if you don't take it off, it's going to probably go up in my leg. So he took my toe off. 6 weeks, and it was all healed up. And I go to him for anything I got going on my feet. I can't afford to lose anything more. And like that, the sore, you know, and that there. Yeah. My mother and dad, Jeremy, you know, they had their own home remedies. And mustard plaster and all this stuff, you know. And doctoring was only if you really, really, really were sick, you know. They had no money to pay. Saying you'd go back to the old doctors, and they all say they were paid off with chickens and poultry, anything, you know, that they'd pay their bill with, but there was no money. And my dad was no different than anybody else, you know. And they try to do their home remedies, you know, to work on you, and they had a lot of them, you know.
Do you remember any other ones?
No, I mean, it's just, maybe if I was thinking more, you know. And as you get older, you forget too. But, you know, you bring something up and it kind of brings your memory back, you know. But mentholatum and garbolic salve was always the big thing, you know. And if there was something wrong. And to this day, that salve will just about anything you put on.
That happen in hospitals usually with a doctor, or was that at home?
I was the last at home right here in the house. Then the rest, you know, it's not like it is today, you know. Man, they were really, you know, maybe my two brothers would have lived I think they would have, if we would have had the medical facility we got today. But we didn't have it. The one laid right there in that corner in a crib, and that's where he died, in that crib, see. We had a crib that you wound up, and then it would rock, you know, and my mother, the baby would sleep, you know, and she could get other things done. But the baby was sick for 6 weeks. I say 6 weeks, you know, then he passed away. And the other one didn't, you know, maybe 2 days, I think, is what they tell me, see. I wasn't around when that, yeah. But this one, my brother in there, I remember that. And I say he laid right in that corner, you know, in that cradle. See, man, when we were small, we were stacked in these 2 rooms like cordwood. You know, beds made out of a trundle bed, day bed. In German, they called it a Schunkbett that looked like a piece of furniture. You folded it out. There were 4 of them sleeping in there at night. And then the pipe from the stove over there where the refrigerator has run across, that's where the kitchen stove sat, over to this chimney. And my mother said I'd never could understand how we never had a problem. She said, I'd get up, that pipe was red hot. The wires were red hot, everything. And we were sleeping under it, and nothing happened. Nothing. But they watched so these things wouldn't get red hot. But we burnt so much wood, and then that's why, and we had to take the pipes down, like every 2 weeks or a week. Every week had to take them down and clean them out because we were burning so much wood, see. That was a chore to clean the chimney all the time, every fall. During the winter, you had to, so you wouldn't end up with a chimney fire, see. But again, it was, you understand what, it was work all the time. It was a schedule that you had to keep. When you ate at 6 o'clock or 5:30, you better be there at 5:30. You were not eating at 6 or 6:30, 5:30, see. And everybody had, you'd sit down and eat. You went out, and you'd either be picking bugs or doing something, or in the garden. And if you had everything caught up, then I could play a little ball out in the street, and that's see.
Now, did you play ball at all through the school?
No, there was nothing like that at school. You played ball in school, no, but there was not like the baseball team or from the school. No, there was nothing like that. No. I played independent ball or Legion ball. See, I played when I was a kid. The park board sponsored, and the West Side boys got together, and we had a terrific ball team. Nobody could beat us, so they broke us up, at the park board. So I played with the Quick Lunch Tigers. I was catching, and another fellow was pitching from down here. We ended up over at the Bell Drug Indians, see, playing for this drugstore and the East Side kids. So, because nobody could beat us, we'd beat them all, see. But then they broke the team up, and then the other team started to win too, see. Because, like I say, we got to play. Where would you wouldn't go with the East Side and play. You played down and got the guys from down on this side of town to play. Yeah. We played a lot of ball as kids. I'm not saying that every day was work. We had
What other things did you play?
Well, when I was growing up, I played baseball. I played softball. I pitched fast pitch softball. I boxed, and I played hockey, and I played hockey and boxed at the same time, winter sport. I played baseball and softball at the same time during the summer, them two sports. See, I played together, and hockey and that, see. I played in the basketball, But again, there weren't no cars around. When I boxed in 47, there were no cars. I didn't have a car. It was one way to get out of town. It'd give you a chance to get out and go. We boxed. Well, on Friday night, we're in Valley City. Saturday night, we're in boxing to the University of Fargo, the AC. See, and then come back on Sundays. I had to be back by noon because the hockey team, I had a high school hockey team, we were going to Say Rolla to play. When they dropped me off at the Winter Sports Building, I got out of one car and into the next, and we went to Rolla to play hockey, or we went to Candu and played hockey, or we went to Jamestown and played hockey, But any time we boxed, I had to be back by noon because we were playing, say, all depends, 3 o'clock. They'd kind of put the game, and I played regular hockey, I played all the time. I didn't you know what I mean. I played defense, net. And hockey was a lot of fun, See? And it's a story. If you want me to tell a story about my dad, but well, here, and my dad never been to a hockey game in his life. My wife gets my dad to go to a hockey game down at the Winter Sports when we're going to Candu. Candu's playing to come to the Devil's Lake, so we're playing. Anyway, the place is full of people, and my dad's out there with my wife standing there, The game got going, and there's 3 of us. Kurtz is playing hockey. The puck left the ice and hit my brother Julie in the head, and down he went. My wife said my dad got all excited up there. Anyway, we got Julie back up on his feet and playing. About the second period, I'm playing defense and Cass is playing wing. I'm on the right side, and defense and Cass is playing wing on the right side. Cass got in a fight with a guy from Candu. So I skated up to get Cass out of fight, and all of a sudden, all hell broke loose, see? And the next thing I know, I'm flat on my back on the ice, and I can't see nothing. Cass is laying alongside of me. Big dog pile, you know? So we're laying there, and I can't see nothing. This is no lie. The next time I seen daylight, my dad was on the ice, and he had a hockey player in each hand saying, "Get off of my boys." He said, "Get off of my boys." And he was peeling them off. My neighbor lives over across the street there, Gravy McPhail. He's standing alongside him hollering, "Give it to him, Casper, give it to him." So anyway, after the game was over and that, we were dressing that, and I was talking to Gravy. I said, "What really happened?" He said, "I don't know, your dad cleared that fence, and it was down on that ice." And he said, "I went out on the ice so nobody would hit him with a hockey stick. That's what I was doing out there, see?" And had no idea, never seen him clear nothing, you know, but he was there. That's the words I heard. "Get off of my boys." And that's the way a parent would be, you know, of say maybe 6 or 10 other guys piled on top of you, and he's got 2 boys on the bottom of the pile. You got to get them off, you know. And my dad got excited at that, you know. And my wife never got him to go to another hockey game. He liked my wife because he was retired, different things, you know, way back, and he liked talking to her. And so she got him to go to that hockey game. He went down there. He helped build that winter sports building in the WPA days, you know. He worked on that building, built it. That's where he learned the carpenter work and all that, see. And my dad was never a big fan of sports. I don't think my dad ever came to a baseball game. Never, you know. He knew I played, you know. And, but that was wasting time when you shouldn't be doing something else. You know, I'll tell you something. I painted for 43 years, and I worked all the time. Once in a while, I would take off at 3:30 and go play golf with the friends, you know. Now, I could do that. I own the business. I'm going. But, you know, I never played a day where I didn't feel guilty. That's a fact. That I didn't have a guilt complex saying, I'm playing golf and the other guys are working. Or should be working, see. And that always bothered me, you know. And you should be able to do that. Man, I run 7 days a week. Well, they were off. You know, all they came is to work on Monday morning and said, where are we going? If it was raining, you know, whatever. Where are we going? And my guys never went home all them years more than 5 times, you know, half a day or whatever it was. I kept them busy all the time. I hustled on Saturdays, Sundays, and everything. I painted churches, went and give bids on church on Sunday afternoon when them guys are home and all, you know. And you always had to be scheduled ahead, you know, what to do. So that's part of my dad, see, that drive. One thing I got, I said, my kids are not lazy. I said, if they inherited nothing from me, but they inherited one thing, the drive I got, to keep going, keep going. See, my daughter teaches school in Grand Forks. My daughter's, I can brag, she's a good school teacher. Well, how do you know she's a good school teacher? Because she is. She tutors all summer long, and she don't ask for students. They come looking her, and she's full for the summer, tutoring now. She tutors in the winter after school, that she tutors kids. And she has the biggest smile and anything else. We've been down there in graduation for some of these kids. She said, I tutored him, and when he was going to school, you know, and now they're graduating from school. She really, she went to the graduations, you know, the kids at Center. And she'd call, and we'd go down, and he would spend the weekend there, you know, and we'd go to these graduations with her. And, you know, when you got kids like that, the parents sit back, and I'm just saying, you know, like you're going to explode, that you feel so good, you know, on things that your kids do and that. See, and like I say, you get mad at them, you know, and different things, but that's all you got is your kids. I keep saying that, you know, like the girl I told you, about with 7 kids, hey, you're never going to be lonely, and that's right. Look what you got. Just look at the miracle you got there, 7 of them. And the one ball is a Mertens boy out here. She's married to a Mertens. He plays basketball. He's got another year, good ball player. Got a sister. The mother told me they're out 5 o'clock in the morning working out things with the girls. She's on the girls' team, when something goes wrong, how do you, the boy play? What do you do to get rid of that? And she said they're outside playing ball at 5 o'clock in the morning, bouncing the ball. And that girl can play basketball. Now she's, an 8th grader, 9th grader. Yeah. She's tall, Yeah. And that's what, life's all about. Use your kids and, I think, and if it wouldn't been for my dad and my mother, then here I am telling you the story, And maybe sometimes we don't emphasize enough on your kids, or you don't say how, what I mean, how nice your parents were, because they never told you I love you, or what I mean. They do that more today. I do it more, I call my brother in California. We end up, I love your brother. Hey, you wouldn't do that back in my day. And them words never came out, But no, I've had a good life. And some days it's so good you think I died and went to heaven. And if you believe that long enough, it is like that. You don't have, a bad day, or you believe it. Some days it's so good you think you died and went to heaven. You have a bad day, and you have bad times where you go down the scale, you hit the bottom, and then it seems like everything goes wrong, but that day comes when you start up again, start climbing back up, and the days get better. I've had a good life, and I've done a lot of things. And I don't know, with a better education, it probably could have been better, see. But I've always looked up to the guy upstairs, Going through that war, I looked up all the time, And you're always thinking, And maybe I would have never did a lot of things that wouldn't have been for my dad and my mother, I honestly wouldn't know. I did things should have happened that never happened, see. And I wonder sometime if the Holy Spirit was with me or what. But thinking of different things, they should have, but never. They never happened. See? And then I say to myself, why didn't that happen? I have them at home here. Different things I've done. Stupid. I made a tree trimmer, thinking nothing of this, that I could reach up 30 feet or that. And I got a paint pole that extends 30 feet, aluminum. Now, how am I going to make this saw? So I have a tree saw. I take the saw and I bolt it to a plastic handle, which you could screw the pole into, and I'm sawing trees, boy, really working. I came out of one tree like that, and I hit the power line. And she went off like a shotgun went off, and tempered that saw blade right in there. You could see where it tempered. It never did a thing to me. Why? I had that plastic handle on there. From the saw to the pole, there's a plastic with it. Never daydreamed why I did that. Why did I put the handle? To put the handle on the saw to turn the pole into. Never thinking what could happen to me. And that happened over in my other house. The saw now today, the tree saw broke in half. It tempered it so bad it got so hard it just snapped it right off. Melted the teeth where she hit it, went into the wire, Now somebody's looking out for you. See, when something like that, you never think that's going to happen, but it did. See? And just little things like, like that. But no, if I was going to say anything bad about my dad or mother, no. I had good parents, but I had tough parents, see. And I lived long enough to enjoy them,
Well, then, with that in mind, what was your happiest childhood memory?
Oh, I've had, different ones. hitting a grand slam home run playing baseball. Did you ever hear 300 people get up and cheer for you when you hit a grand slam home run, bases loaded, and you're behind? We would have won the game if the guy wouldn't have got thrown out of the first base, monkeying around. So the one guy on was behind 2, and I hit a grand slam home run, tied the game up. We lost the game in extra innings. But you ever have a feeling where 300 people get up and just cheering? And I had many times where I hit a home run, in different things, and people cheering for you, It's just a different, I don't know. You actually can see the fans that are out there playing that like you, but they may have never talked to you, see? But they know you as a ball player, see? Or winning a Golden Gloves tournament, and fighting, all week long, fighting to eliminate 5 guys before you get to the finals, and to get to the finals, yeah, that's an accomplishment, really. It's an accomplishment to go to a softball game in Grand Forks, North Dakota, and went down there with 12 players, and we were in the Red River Valley tournament. I pitched 5 games in that one day. It was one-day tournament. And struck out 27 guys, and we won second. And by the end of the day, it was about 90. And I never stiffened up. That's because it was so hard, hot in that. And I struck all them guys out. And to stand there, and all these people are all final game. All these people stand back. You can hear them talk, Geez, he pitched 5 games. That is his 5th game. And I hit home runs in them games, And I remember in that game, one game there, this big guy got up and he hit a home run off of me, And so you learn when you study players, when you're batting and pitching and that there. Anyway, he come up again. I struck him out. He got off, he turned around to walk back, took his hat off, and he tipped it to me when I struck him out. That made me feel good, And that was good. That was enjoyable, really. For putting out that in last 5 games I pitched, 3 games only went 3 innings, and 2 games went 7, And I struck out, like I say, 27 guys. See, that's a feat in its own, to pitch 5 games. But I say this. Yes, I was in good shape, in that there. But the thing is there, it was hot. It was about 90, 100, what I'm saying there? And never stiffened up. Maybe for the first inning or so, till you got back swinging, it was good. But you never really got where everything hurt, see? And I hurt for a month later after that, that I was so stiff, But I enjoyed that. I enjoyed hitting home runs in baseball, I enjoyed down, they get you, like Cheyenne gets you to play for them. And they're looking, and I hit home runs for Cheyenne, and against other teams down there where there were good ball players too. See? And one of the things, we were in a state tournament in Jamestown, and Jim McChesney, he had pitched in Northern League, and he was playing, and Jim Adelson I was told it, was broadcasting the game from Jamestown. And I hit a ball that sailed clean out into the left field fence, and hit that vines up there, And I made some good catches, and the catching and that. And Jim Adelson said, now there's 2 guys that scouts should be looking at, the pitcher and myself. That gives you a good feeling. Say, really. And I've had days like that where I hear things, Just the other day, out at the country club, I was out talking to Scotty Jarrells, runs a sporting goods store. Balzer, he said, I remember when you hit that ball straight over dead center field and cleared that fence maybe 10 feet high over the fence. Otherwise, it wasn't high. It was just on the line shot. And that ball sailed over just about over 400 yards. See? And I said, you know, you're the first guy that ever has mentioned that to me. That's a fact. I never heard it before till he told me. I knew I did. See, but you put on like, well, that's nothing, you know. Of hitting 2 or 3 home runs in one game, you know. I did that, you know. But I also played the game hard, got in trouble playing it hard, you know. People get on you and that there. Like, you know, striking, you say, now kicking a little dirt on the plate to kind of get the old crowd up, you know. And then stand there and take 2 strikes and hit the next one over the fence, see? Boy, that aggravates them then. They're out to get you. Really. I remember just in a joke, I was joking all the time about playing ball. I loved to play ball and in Canada playing, you know. 2 of the brothers up there were big boys, and one had the bar and one had the plumbing business, you know. And Mel Peterson, they were Peterson, Harry and Mel Peterson, big. They weighed 220, 220, 250. And they were riding me all the way through. See, and they rode me in hockey, playing hockey, but they were riding me in this baseball. And I kicked dirt on the plate, you know, just to get them going, you know. They were going, and they were hollering up to throw me out of the game, you know. And I let the ball go by twice, you know. And they're still hollering. I dropped the bat, and I run back to the backstop, and I climbed right up the wire. And they're sitting way back up top. I said, I'm looking for you 2 guys right after the game. I climbed down, and I smacked that ball over the fence. And we were the best friends after that. I loved them 2 guys. Really, there was no madness or anything. And we got to be the best of friends with his wife and stuff, you know. And he'd invite me up to Canada to play in their golf tournament. I'd invite him back here to play in Devil's Lake, and, you know, we'd pull pranks like that. One time we were playing out here, I invited him here. I bought him a steak about like that and about 4 inches like that. Once he seen that steak, he took his putter and threw it up in the air, you know, like that. And when the putter came down, he hit on the end and broke the head off of his putter. But he ate the steak. No, you know, of clowning around, having a good time, I did. You know, once in a while, you know, people don't take it that way. Say, you mean nothing by it, but they get on you. But like I said, I played the game and I played it hard. And I played it to win. I boxed to win. Not to lose, to win. And out of that stuff, you can become a sorehead. I fought in a tournament here, in the finals. And Fred Molitier, we were on the same team. And we were fighting for the middleweight to go to Minneapolis. And I always said, you know, Fred was a good boxer. He was Indian, but he was good. And we took off, the 2 of us. We sparred together, and the fight got going, you know. And I suppose I hit Fred about 10 times, and Fred never touched me. But he hit me 1 time below the heart, and down I went, knocked the wind out. I rolled over, got up in the count of 8, and he stopped the fight. That's what got to me. And I jumped out of the ring and left. I didn't stick around. Now you're a sorehead. It takes a long time to get over that, you know, that, you know, when you're fighting, you know, become not a sorehead. I lost, you know. And I didn't think that it was right for that guy to stop the fight, the referee, see. Because I was nothing wrong with me. I got up. I was all right. And I said that night I was on. You know, you can tell when you're on different things, you know, like playing ball or anything, when things are going good. Playing golf is the same thing. You feel it in your hands, you know, baseball, everything, you know. When I stopped that fight that night, I was just devastated, really. I felt bad because I didn't perform, because people were out there thought, you know, that was the fight of the evening between him and me. Yeah. Fred went on to Minneapolis, won the Minneapolis tournament, went on to Chicago. Yeah. And we were the best of friends, all, you know. And the fate of that thing is Fred was down in Texas in an oil rig, and he lost an ankle, foot. And he got paid, and he went home, and they got drunk, and they both burned to death in St. John in a house. Man, that was hard on me, you know. Because we were good friends. He was a policeman in town, you know. I mean, to die that way. You know, you talk about the Depression, you know, back in the 30s, you know. That's my best recollection in the 30s, you know, the 20s, you know. I was born in 28. But the thing in Depression and stuff, everybody was the same. Nobody had really a lot, you know. And that's where the bums and the hobos would go back. They're looking for work. They come on a train and all that stuff, see. And we're sitting here, got nothing. And, excuse me, and living here, you know, we're as poor as church mice, but I ain't going to cry, you know. But we lived on relief some of the time. And then Roosevelt came out with the WPA back in them days. My dad was laid off of the railroad, and they worked down in the park, Roosevelt Park down there. That was a garbage dump when they started. They worked on them big winter sports buildings and carpentering all the time, you know. Worked out of Camp Grafton, building that, you know. And that's where he learned the carpenter, you know, the carpenter work, you know. But everybody, my dad got $40 a month working there and supported a family. You go out today and you'll spend $40 in one night and never know what you had, you know, with it. My wife and myself went out to the country club for supper, nice supper, steak and shrimp for $10. Two of us, $20. When you think of that's half of 40, and we were out there for a couple hours, we had one drink apiece, that was it, you know. And when you talk of $40 a month, of course, $40 back then bought more. But we were on relief, they called it then back there. We used to go up there and get pancake flour. We'd get some eggs, get some oranges and different things. Probably get a mattress or something that you needed, you know. But my dad never stayed on that. As soon as things got better, he was back off, back either working on, he was back on the railroad. And at that time, a few years went by, most of the kids are a little older where they get out and earn a few dollars a week. And that went all into the kettle here. You know, you worked all week. And my dad got it all, see? And it didn't make a heck of a lot of difference, see? During the war, you know, during that war, I was too young, and I worked for the Farmers Union Creamery over there, and we were churning butter. You know, butter was hard to get. And we worked a lot of overtime. I was making $125 a week with overtime, see? My dad got it all, the whole bit. And then I rebelled to some point there, and then I got $5. See, then I rebelled again, and, you know, then I got 25, and I had to buy my own clothes. But he, you know, he bought my clothes and stuff, you know. So that was different, you know. When you're my age, you think if I make it $125, why should I have to, you know, give it to your parents? But everybody was putting something into the pot. But it was helping your family survive the tough times, see. So I have no ill feelings about that, you know. And like I said, they were all in that, all of them. There were a few, there's always a few people with money when times get tough, you know, I feel in there, see. But the majority of them are poor, and they're struggling. When you see the movies going to California to pick oranges, pick apples, you know, what they get, you know, on that. But what we got here was love, and we got to eat, you know. You got to patch clothes and everything else, but we worked together as a family, you know what I mean? Maybe at the time you never thought that, but everybody had a job. You picked the bugs and did all the stuff so you'd have stuff to eat, you know. So when you think of it today, I'm talking, you know, maybe it wasn't so bad. Say, but being, say, let's see, 17, 15, you know, working and you're working overtime and making that kind of, probably making more than your dad was making, see. But work was nothing, you know, work overtime, work 10, 12, 14 hours a day, see. But never thinking until now, or I've had different thoughts, that the money that you were contributing to run a family, 11. My brother was gone, two brothers were gone, you know, in the army then. And they had sent home my older brother sent home a deal that the government had, sent $21 a month home to help support the family. See? And so that helped, you know. And then when I was kicking in, my other brothers were kicking in, so things got better. In the 50s, I suppose the first part of the 50s, we got rid of the cow. See? And that told me things were getting better, you know, in the family and stuff. But everybody worked. There was no laying around, you know, if you were going to survive. In the winters, burning coal or wood and that. I'm not kidding you. It was so cold in this house at night, the water bucket froze. You know, they had an inch ice on it, you know. You come in here, and the stove during the day was stoked. It was either 90 in here, or it was cold. So you sat with your jacket on. When it was 90, if you didn't move, you didn't sweat. But you were warm. See? But to this day, I sit with my jacket on 90% of the time. Take your jacket off. No, I'm all right. And that comes from, you know, comes from back then. But it's not a poor thing to be talking, you know. It's just a habit, you know, what you did. And like I say, God thanks the good people back in them days, too, that had money and did things for you, you know. And that I remember going with my dad to change, put screens on and take storm windows off. Or put storm windows on and take screens off. Had it all day or more, cleaning windows and everything, you know, and got $3. He made $3 that day, putting all them windows on. And this lady said, "You want to cut grass a little?" "Sure, I'll give you a dime." Being small and trying to push out. I lasted, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes, and I couldn't handle that no more. But she gave me a dime. I made a dime on my own. And, you know, Dad, back in, I'll tell you the true story. of growing up, being poor in the 40s. And to go to a movie was something else. Some kids could go, some kids didn't. So we had a routine. Saturday mornings, the cowboy show was run on Saturday. So on Saturday mornings, I'd get up early, and I'd run the alleys uptown for boxes. And I'd sell them to the National Tea for a penny apiece, or sell them to Carlson's Bakery. And all my friends were doing, we were all doing the same thing. So we'd make 12 cents. And after we got 12 cents, if they didn't want any more, then we'd go over to Carlson's Bakery, and they'd give us day-old stuff. Maybe it was a week old, I don't know. Then we'd go to the Hollywood Theater. It cost 10 cents to get in. Put your old dime down, and now you got a bag of day-old. And you're down there watching Gene Autry or Roy Rogers shoot 'em up in that, and there you're sitting down in the front row. The jelly's rolling down the side of your mouth, but you're having a good time. Or come out of there and your mouth's all brown from the cake that you ate in that there. Every Saturday we used to do that, you know. Then we had to get together with times were really tough. We got one guy enough money to get in, you know. Gee, once in a while the back door opened up and we could all get in. Well, that's the way it was back then, you know. But it was fun, just great. Sit in that front row, I always say, in the front row of the Hollywood Theater watching horseshit and gunpowder. Stay for 2 shows in case it changed. In case Roy didn't get knocked off, or Gene, maybe he did, you know. Then come home at 6 o'clock, and boy, then I'll give you 2 shows. But she'd feed us, you know. Supper's at 5:30, but she'd feed us. And another thing was really funny. You see how you take a shower in the summertime? We had a swimming hole out there north of the cemetery, a gravel pit, and us boys worked her over. And it was real deep, and we dug out, and we had springs, a spring where the water was about 4 feet deep, but she was cold, you know, in there. So we'd go down there in the summertime and we'd swim. We had a place to tan and all that, you know. and you'd come home. Now, you got to come home and hit them back steps. And Ma would say, where were you at? Oh, we were just playing. And she said, were you out swimming? Ma, we weren't swimming at all. And she's looking at you, and you got that polished look, you know, when you come out of the water and clean, shiny. And knowing that we were lying, no, Ma, we weren't swimming. And we were. And swimming all day, right? Yeah, we were swimming. You swim, you like water. No. But that, you know, that was part of being poor, you know. And when I say people were good, I remember going up to the lady at the Hollywood Theater, and I must have been 11, or 12 cents after 12, or whatever it was, you know. And I said to her, I only got 10 cents. And I want to go to the show. She said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll borrow you 2 cents. And she did. So I went to the show. She put in 2 cents. I'll be back next week to pay you. And I did. I came back. And I know this lady today. Her husband and that run Reagan Motors. June is her name. A nice looking lady. And that lady trusted me for 2 cents. And I paid it back to her, you know. So that was, you know, it meant a lot to me that somebody trusted you. Then on regular, you know, some nights, Wednesday nights they call Pell Night. You could stand in the theater, and if a guy bought a ticket, he could take in a Pell. He'd say, you want to go to the show? And he'd take you, and you go in, see. First show I ever went to was Charlie Chan. You know, I stood there, and probably one of the last ones, but a guy took me in, and I seen the show Charlie Chan. Never forgot it. But that was growing up, you know, when everything was poor, like I say in there. And it was, we were all the same. There was no difference, see. And I'm not crying about it either, you know. Because there were good times in there, see. So, you know, we're all the same, but we had a lot of fun. Some kid his mother could give him money and we couldn't go. We'd sit down at a house down there, Eddie Singer's, you know, and that we'd sit behind the stove, about 4 or 5 of us, and he'd tell us all about the show. Yeah. Just like we were there. We were riding with Roy and Gene, you know, and that there. Yeah. And that.
Your favorite kind of movies, the Westerns?
Yeah, you know. But like I say, you know, in the Hollywood Theater run Westerns on weekends. Not John Wayne, he was Class A stuff. He was at the Lake Theater, see. The poor guys like Roy and Gene and Hoppy and all them were at the Hollywood, you know. And you had fans, you know, you were fans of different ones. Hopalong Cassidy was my boy, you know. And you see him on TV once in a while, you know. But it brings back memories, you know, going to the show. And then they had serials they called with them. You got a 15-minute show. And just at the end of that 15 minutes, you go over a cliff. Well, you had to come back next week to see what happened. So they had you coming back, see. So you got out and earned money to get so you could get back in for 12 cents, you know. And they had you going all the time, you know, with them things. So you worked hard to get into picking up pop bottles, you know, you could sell them. Well, you could sell you go look for whiskey bottles. Because the bootleggers, like I told you, they had them, and we knew which one the bootlegger, and we sold the bottles, and they give us a nickel for a pint bottle, you know. And they'd clean her up and wash her and refill it, you know. And that's what we looked for because they were a nickel. If you had the big one, boy, you get a dime, see. And that's what we got to have the cover on them, you know, we put the cover on, you know. Yeah, we picked them up and sold them back to the bootleggers and that, see. So we could go to the show. That's all there was to do, and you know, make your own fun, play ball, do other things, but to go to the show, see. And it was enjoyable, really. When you think about it now, and like I told you, the jelly running down your mouth and your cheeks and stuff and that, you know, you had a good time. And I got a lot of friends. One of my friends is Pugsley Sandwiches. You heard of them? He's a friend of mine. Was raised down on 8th Street, Eddie. He's the guy that him and his wife started at Pugsley Sandwiches. Lived on 8th, just 2 blocks down. I lived here and he lived out on the corner, 2 blocks down. And the other guy I told you that tell us all about the movie, he worked for Otter Tail Power. He lives up at Botno, and he retired from Otter Tail Power. I see him once in a while, you know. Yeah. But like I said, no complaining. I didn't know any better, and it hasn't bothered me, you know. But like I said, there are a lot of people, boy, that were poor. But at least we got to eat, you know. And that comes from my folks, you know, my mother and dad. But they were good providers. My dad was excellent, you know what I mean? And he was a provider that he knew what you needed to build a fire and how to do it, everything. Like I said today, would the kids know how to build a fire in the house? Say. And he would get up 3-4 times a night when the weather was really cold and stoke that fire. We couldn't afford lignite coal. Once we got lignite coal, you could bank up the fire, you know, so it'd go. But here's an incident with my dad. We used to get over at the Great Northern when the coal trains that fell on the ground, we'd go over and sweep it up. You know, the lumps, and the lumps were in one bin, the dust, you know, was in another, the little stuff was in another bin, but the coal dust he wanted. So we had a outhouse back there, and then in the fall, we sifted it, took the lumps out of it, we had the dust. And he would take that, and I don't know if he put oil in the pail, had a pail, and he filled the thing up with water, and half full of water, and then he'd dump all that coal dust in there. Then he'd leave it set outside, and it'd freeze. Then he'd turn it over, and the things would come out. And when you come out, you had a pail with a pail of coal dust about like that. He'd bring her in, set her on the fire, put it in the fire, and it'd smolder all night because it was wet and it would burn, but it was warm, see? So it would sit there and smolder. And then we left little chunks in, you know? And that's how we got away from the fire going out at night. Through his ingenuity how to do it, the pails we had, you know, they had to be certain kind, you know, so we were too big and that, too small. So he could haul water and get them wet, the dust, and stir it up in the cans, and then she'd freeze solid. Then we'd burn them. See? There was always, you know, but even wood, when you sawed ties, it had to be a certain length so it fit in the cook stove. There wasn't no monkeying around that they wouldn't fit. You got a stick measurement, and that's all they better be. And they were all split to that, so when you hauled them in and put them by the cook stove, they fit right in there. Then you brought in all the wood, the slivers and everything else. That went in first to start the fire, see? He didn't throw nothing away. And he had that. It was all, you know, so when we were in the wintertime, we had to go do that. I had to milk the cow, you know, and that stuff. And you did that. I always listened to the Lone Ranger at 6 o'clock at night till 6:30. It'd take me half an hour to milk. A couple of cats there, you'd give them a couple of squirts, and you'd come in, and your mother said, "You sure you milked the cow? That's all?" I said, "That's all, Ma." But I didn't tell her I was spraying the cats a little. So that's what we're doing. I picked up an old radio, and it was busted up, and I got Devil's Lake on it. That's where the Lone Ranger came in on. And I got electricity back to the barn. It wasn't like cord going all the way back. Plugged that radio and listened for half an hour to the Lone Ranger. It was just like you were there. Yeah, I'm going to take care of the cow, feed it, and manure the barn, all that, you know, before you milk and that, and got done. And I'll tell you something about my dad. That cow never had no manure on it at all. My dad checked that cow, and that cow had manure or something laid in it. You went out with a warm pail of water, and you washed that all off. You took a curry, and you curried her out. Then you took a towel, and you dried that cow. You know, in the backhand, you know, yeah. He wouldn't stand for that if that cow had some manure on him, you know, on the cow and that, yeah. We had cows that you could take out in the fall when the gardens were out, you could turn them loose right here. And I'd go back to that railroad property where we're at and go out there and eat. And at noon, 12 noon, cow would come home and get a drink out of the tank, or else we had to haul water back to it. She'd come home and drink out of the tank and go back. And at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that cow was ready to go in the barn. We never had to go back and get it. Just a few times what we did to cow, you know. Yeah, It was just something else. You know, after you do something so long, and the cow would do it, and that. Then we had some would run away, break the chain, and you know, you'd be running all over the place looking. Every day at noon, we had to haul water back in a cream can and get the cow up to that. It had a wagon, you know, dump the water in the wagon so the cow could drink out of the wagon. That's how we took care of it.
And you could keep it right in town, right?
Yeah, right back there, right in this yard.
Did you keep any other animals?
We had chickens. We had pigeons. And we had, my other brother had some rabbits. The story of the pigeons, we started out with one, and then we had two, and then my dad got into, you know, liked them. So he built a deal in the barn over the cow where he nailed on, and they had little ones, you know, and that. We fed them in there and that. And pretty soon we had maybe 100, 125 pigeons flying around. We had two bad old toilets we had made up for nests and that. We took care of them in there and fed them and that. We swept boxcars to get wheat. But anyway, we'd have them back there. And one day I walked in, I said to my mother, I can't figure it out. My pigeons are getting thin. I can't, you know, they must be not coming back. So about a week, a little later, I could notice some never came back, you know, not there. But all them 2 weeks we were eating partridge or prairie chicken, you know. What's this we're eating? Prairie chicken. And all the time we're eating pigeon. That's a fact. You eat pigeons today, you know. They call it squab. I think that's what they call it. But my pigeons disappeared. Here we're eating them in here, and she's telling me they're partridge and all that. See, that's the joke of the thing. Yeah.
How about the rabbits? Did you eat those?
Yeah, we did. Got to tell you, we had a rooster. Got a bunch from over the hatcheries right over here. But my aunt came in, and they died. You know, we had two left. But what was wrong with them, they had a skin on their tongue so they couldn't eat. So she knew that, and she pulled the skin off of this one. The other one died. This one lived. That rooster grew to be about this big, red one. And he was meaner than heck. You know, we got pictures, you know. He'd come in the yard, that rooster would pin you up against the house, or you know what I mean. He was mean. So my mother butchered him. And I think my mother and dad ate it all, you know, because we wouldn't touch that chicken. I never ate any, you know. That was the end of our pet. It was a pet. But they just couldn't see that rooster running around when he should be on the table. Man, he was big. You know, fed him all that grain and that stuff, yeah. Very, very nice pet. But he got mean, you know. He had them spurs in the back, you know. He'd slap you with a wing and then he'd kick that leg into you. They were scared to come through the yard, you know, with him and that, yeah. But that was just part of growing up too, like I say, with that, you know. But everybody, next door, they had 2 cows. Down at 8th Street, they had 5. They were selling milk, see? But we didn't sell milk. We took, our own, you know, family in that. And we got a Holstein one time that really gave milk. Then my dad gave milk to the neighbors, you know. But otherwise, we had all the milk we could drink, you know.
Did you have any other pets?
We had a dog, little collie, we called him Blackie. We had a few small dogs. They were, I can't think of the name now. Cocker Spaniel. Yeah, he lived, I suppose, maybe 10, 12 years old. That's how we got in, you know, like me, raised with a dog. I had a dog here, you know. And the thing was, when I got married, I got a German Shepherd. I had him when my kids were small. I had one dog who wouldn't let them kids out on the sidewalk. never trained him anything. He just knew them kids never went on the sidewalk. He'd herd them back. That's no kidding. We had one, they opened the door. My wife come over here, and we had a German Shepherd. The kids, how he got onto that, they're out in the backyard. and I took the handles off of the door so they could come in. I nailed a spool on the door, so down low so they could get a hold of it and pull the door back and come in. That dog figured that out. He pulled that door back on that spool. They come in the inside the other house, and he was in the back room, and he watched that. He had to turn the knob and pull the door back. He did that too. My wife came over here to visit my dad, and pretty soon the dog came in. How did he get in here? He opened the door and came in. Now that's hard to believe. That's exactly what he did. I put him in the garage over at home there. And the garage was triggered with two doors. You had to pull the chains, didn't have no lift or anything. But it was triggered so the door would let it come up. I put him in there and I come home and he's out. The door's open and he's out. That's how he did. I don't know if he watched or what he did. He got them paws on that door, tripped them chains, and the door went up enough and out he come. Yeah. Watching all the time. And he watched the kids all the time. Nobody could touch them kids in the yard. Nobody. He'd be right there, boy. Growling, if he did. And my kids get as far as the sidewalk. If they got out further, he'd herd them back into the yard. That's just with my kid. I have pictures of this when I'm telling you, on the movie camera and that. Yeah.
It's a smart dog.
Yeah, really. And very little that he watched the kids and left outside. Well, he's like that, left outside. Then pretty soon, he's scratching on the door, wants to come in. See? Yeah. So they catch on pretty quick how to get your attention, Great life. Really. With the animals, had dogs. Kids all brought up with dogs. Well, that one over in the end, the baby, she raises dogs in Montana. Yeah, she raises a silver lab. It's a different dog. It's a lab, but it's silver. She has black labs, golden labs, all this stuff in there. But she has other dogs, Dobermans. Another one's got a bad name. Big dog, And football players order them. Dog, people order them from her, yeah. Ships them out on the airplane, yeah. She's got a good reputation. Knows a lot about dogs. She's got a 12-year-old girl that knows as much as she does. She knows she's out there when they're having the little ones, what to do and everything, yeah. She's on the website and the girl is on the website. Making her own money. Yeah, she said, I got to sell a few more dogs so we can come home. They want to come home in August so we can get our pickup paid for. So they're coming home. Hey, I guess it's not the worst thing in the world, But she's making a living out raising dogs, got a good reputation. Got in with a lady with the silver labs, and, And she's got, every dog goes out is always inspected by a veterinarian to make sure there's nothing wrong or the hip business or anything. Yeah. They live out in the country in Montana, out of Whitefish someplace in there, and raise the dogs. And the second one there, now she has a Doberman right now. Took him out of the pound in Arizona. She lives in Arizona. Took him out of the pound. He's in the dog pound. She's got two of them out of the dog pound. And the one was like a German Shepherd, but and he got cancer, so she had to put him to sleep. Then she had a lab, a yellow lab. That one she got from somebody, bought from somebody. But that dog lived about 12 years, Now she just got this Doberman out of the pound. My wife has seen the Doberman. She's got a little, little ones. And with them dogs, you try to get in her house out there in Arizona, there ain't no way you're going to go in there. See? When I was out there, the other ones, I had to reinforce the front door. People going by like, he jumped at that, I had to buy them, kids, so they didn't push out the screen. I put one on the in and one on out. Because them dogs hit that door, But she never worries about anybody coming in, She told me here not too long ago, she said a guy he said he was a taxi driver come up. She lives in a condo area where there's all condos around. Like, came and knocked at the door and wanted to know if anybody was, so-and-so. And them dogs were there. She said, I don't know what he was doing, but he never came back either. Yeah. Yeah, and she has 2 daughters, that got dogs too now, see? But it just got, in Arizona, she lived in this complex, you could walk your dog in there, but you picked everything up too. When I was there, I walked them, but I had a plastic bag, But they gave her that security that she wanted as far as dogs go. So we're a dog family, Yeah. And what else you want to talk about?
Well, do you want to tell me a little bit about the wars, how they affected your family?
The wars are pure hell. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you nothing. I've been to school with 3rd graders, 4th graders. I've been to middle school, and I finished over at Mini H school down there, and they were 3rd graders or 2nd. The one I went up there, I took some guns along, but you can't do that no more. So I showed the kids the guns and the bullets, that they would shoot in the Prairie View or Mini H. The kids listened, That word always comes, did you kill anybody? And the thing is, I told them, I said, someday I'll answer to God for that. And that's all I'm going to tell you. And the teacher said, now that's a good answer. And I just tell them that. Someday. See? And war is hell. It tore me up when you got kids. Kids are, when it's 20 below or 10 below or 30 below, I come, and I came through Seoul, and I stopped to eat at the 73rd. That's a company I was in one time. And I was way up on the front. But I stopped to eat, and I went outside to wash the mess gear. And the whole fence is lined with kids between 2 and 10. And all got a rusty tin can in their hand, reaching through the fence and want something to eat. Well, I had ate everything. And the next time came through there, I didn't eat everything. Now, I'm not the only guy that found that out, that you shared with the rest. I shared maybe with 2, 3 girls as much, that I had in there. I tried to get extra. And I'd give it to the girls because I figured the boys would steal it, They could go get it some other way. But the girls, the ones that froze down here in the nose, they're 2 years old, where they're going to get it? And pouring it in a rusty tin can, But I had my lesson. I was up close to the 38th parallel, and we were resting. And we were outside of a camp where they did all the peace talking. Went to Panmunjom, in North Korea. I was up there about 3 or 4 times. On a rest deal, I drove the naval officers up. But anyway, I was resting, and a guy came over and said, they need a guy with a truck to haul the garbage out. I said, I'll do that. And I had a picture of it. I don't know what happened. And so I said, I'll do it. So I went over there, this base camp where all these big boys are living, And I loaded up a 2.5-ton truck with garbage from the cans, and all that. And I said to the guy, where do I go from here? Well, he said, I'll tell you, just go out on this road and go as far as you can. You'll know when you get there. Oh, really? I knew when I got there. When I got there, they poured out of the hills in white. Men, old women, kids, young girls, everything else. And you went into the cliff because of Korea's mountains. You turned in. And I turned in so I could turn around and back up into this low spot where we could unload. Well, I got back maybe 50 feet. That was it. They were all over the truck. So I just sat there and I waited in the truck. And they started in fighting, over all the garbage, And there's nothing I could do. They had all the garbage cans off, and they were eating while they were picking it all up. And I'm not telling an exaggerated thing. When they got done with me there, all the garbage cans were back on the truck, and there was a pile of eggshells, I'd say like that. From there on, every bit that came out of them cans left. Went someplace. Coffee grounds, all that. That all went someplace except the eggshells. They had these cans that were silver, 5-gallon cans, and they had put handles on them, and that's what they carried, in, and then what they took the stuff back, see. But they just waited for that truck to come. And I couldn't handle it when I went, they wanted me to go again, I couldn't handle it. And this colored fellow I was with, he said, I'll take it. So I told him what was going to happen. And he didn't believe me either, but when he came back, he had backed over a little kid. So he brought the kid back to this base camp where the doctors were at, and they took care of him, see. And I suppose when he got well enough, they took him back, see. But he made the one trip, or did he make 2 trips? And then there was another boy that was out of New York someplace. He had a camera, and I asked him to take some pictures for me. So he went and I had pictures of these people out there, I didn't take the pictures. He did. But it was just like I was there, And it was just, it's unbelievable. I had pictures from that, what I showed my wife and the kids and all that. And to this day, I tell my kids, what you take, you eat. You don't throw it away. I get mad at her. You go to some place and eat a lot, and you'll say a smorgasbord. You eat more than, and she'll throw, and I don't like that. See, anything I take, I eat with it. So that's, in war. I hauled from, when I was in Korea, I was up on the 38th parallel. I hauled ammunition from Seoul, Yeongdong-po, way down when the trains would come in 3 o'clock at night, And I was in a color unit, they were all colored. But I had volunteered out of there. They were stationed in Seoul, so 4 black guys and myself were up at the front, hauling this ammunition and all this stuff, see. There I got in with my 5 guys when I was in the 73rd with 5 white guys, see. They were National Guard too. And that's what we did. We were all volunteers hauling. And I hauled from the eastern front of Korea to the western front. And I told you I helped move the 1st Marine Division off of that. That took a few days, And I was back as far as, I can't remember the name, down south, picking up stuff. And then you'd go, Incheon was a loading base, where you pick up gas. Like these guys are hauling today, which you hear about getting blown up. That's what I was doing. See, so I feel what these guys are going through. I haul gas in 55-gallon barrels. They haul it in tankers. I hauled 5-gallon cans that were stacked in there. I hauled, 18 barrels laid down. I rolled them up on top and stacked. I took them. I delivered the tanks were out of gas, or they needed gas, in different places. I was in Panmunjom, where they're doing all the peace talking, loading fuel oil into the American stuff. And then I hauled these Navy guys up there, see. So I was in North Korea, where they're doing all that peace talking, with them. But most of the time, Moonsan was last place the railroad went. And I hauled guys out of the trenches, in there, and we were back about 5, 6, 7, 10 miles to a shower unit where they probably hadn't had a bath for a month. So I hauled them there, and they showered, got a new set of clothes. They kept their own boots and stuff. And then you'd haul them back. But they had a little relief in there, And this is what they did, We'd haul them up and back in there. You'd go so far, and then they'd walk in the rest of the way, where they were at. And your first body you see, you kind of look and wonder. And after the second body, you don't pay no more attention. And like they say, you never get too acquainted with a friend. You never have any friends, And being in this tent, I was the white guy with the colored Back in Seoul, they were all colored. There were 5 of us white guys. Were first when they start mixing, they mixed us 5 guys were fillers, and they put us in. And we were told by the first field sergeant in this colored unit, "Don't unpack your grip, white boy. You're in the wrong outfit." Well, you heard they mixed color and black. That was the first one in there, one of the first into this mixing, you know. And I didn't like what I never been around, you know, and that. So I volunteered to get out of there. I volunteered to go up to the front. I ended up in the 21st Car Company. I volunteered in there, and they're the ones that were supporting all this other stuff, you know, where you haul all the ammunition and stuff off the trains and that, see. And I had a good time with some Navy observers that were way up in the front. I picked them up. They were directing gunfire off of the ships 25 miles out. They'd get a fire call, and then they would direct gunfire for them off of the ship was shooting in, you know. So I took them back to Seoul, back to Incheon, and that's a naval base. And I resupplied them in gas, you know, food, everything, hauled it all up there. And when we got all done there, I ate with them. The best I ate, you know, was in that place. Anyway, when I got done there, when I dropped them off, they gave me 2 cases of beer, a case of Spam, a box of Spam in a long can, and a box of crackers. I didn't drink the beer. So I give that to the guys, you know, in the tent with me and that. But we all ate the Spam and crackers. It was about a 5-pound can of Spam, yeah. And I did that twice, you know. And they called for me to go again, and I told one other white guy, "Why don't you take it?" I said, "A lot of fun. Go ahead." So he did, you know. When you got in Incheon, it was a lot of fun, you know, down there. You ate good. They took you into the mess hall there, and these are all naval officers off of the ship directing gunfire out. So they ate good, and I got to eat with them. Yeah. And then I was locked up with a PT boat for 3 days, sworn to secrecy, and the PT boat was in there, and it was stripped down. It had 50 caliber machine guns on, and hauling them gas, ammunition, supplies, bread, everything. What these guys were doing, they were up in North Korea rescuing down pilots that were shot down. They'd pay the North Koreans. They had Korean money. I got a dollar from, it was North Korean money and South Korean money I have, you know. And these guys, that's what they were doing. And the PT boat would go about 60 miles an hour on that ocean, you know. And I asked him, "How long do you last?" And he said, 6 months. They ride so hard and shake, you know. And the PT boat, like I said, they had a shower on there for them, you know, them guys. But in the back where the PT boat usually carried torpedoes was all a bed area. They had like beds back there, mattresses and that. And that is where these guys slept when they rescue prisoners that were captured or pilots that were captured. And they could communicate with them. And that's what they picked up. 3 days I stayed with them, you know, in a secrecy deal that you couldn't say nothing. I don't tell anybody that to this day, that I was that, you know. But it was nice with them. They treated me nice, you know. We went all over, you know, picking up supplies with things that they needed, you know. Then after the 3 days, they wound up and went out again, see. And I went back to my unit, see, in that. And I liked that. And I hauled a lot of ammunition and supplies to the Turks. They're plain mean. Them boys are mean. They all stand 6'6", 6'5", wear the big turbans on top, you know, wrapped in that, beards. And I mean, they're mean. I was in there going to get, you know, close to dark. I said, "Hurry up, boys, I want to get out of here." And they said, "You ain't going no place." And they kept me overnight. They wouldn't let me go. And now that's right up. These guys would come out of the tents and go on the line, you know. And I stayed with them there, you know, while they, I supplied them in that. But they kept me overnight, and I stayed overnight. In the morning, I left when it became daylight. I got out of there, see. But I left them, I suppose, supplies for a month, you know. but they were served by they were part of the American deal. And like I said, I got tagged in this where I picked up this stuff for them, and that was something they told you to go someplace. I had no idea how to get there, but I got there. No road map, no nothing. I found a tank crew for gas. Told me where to go, but I got there. And then they have the reconnaissance airplanes, they're up by the front and they fly out and give the direction back to a gun unit that sits on a half track that's a 155. And they give them orders, where to shoot, what they want and that. Yeah. And I was there, and I supplied this half tracks, they had a big 155 on there. And I came in with a load of ammunition. And they had a fire mission going on when I came in. I drove behind this one. And about picked me right up and set me over. That's the recoil on them. So when I got all unloaded, I went back there and I was talking to him. And I waited till he got a fire mission. And he put back a bunch of wooden boxes, the ammunition come in different things. And he set them back there. And it blew them all apart. The recoil of that gun, the recoiling back, they had it dug in like this. It was on a slant. So it wouldn't move. It was on a half track. Wheels in front and a half track and back. And the gun, when they get a fire mission, she'd recoil it, but they were dug in so it wouldn't move it. And I hauled a lot of ammunition to there, to the half tracks that were 155 and 105. The 105 is a smaller cannon that they shoot, And that's right up on, I suppose, a mile behind the line, Like I told you, I know things that happened that should have happened. They never happened. See? But like I say, it was a job. And all the time I had one thing in mind, to deliver what I picked up, because I said, somebody needs it, And other stories, they're not that important, but no, I'm not going to say it. It was a good experience living with the blacks too, Very good experience. And I don't blame them sometimes, ask for better rights and doing this. But it all takes time to get this stuff. We didn't get it all at one time. My dad didn't come from Russia, People were against these people coming in just like now. We're against these people coming in here now that are coming from where we're fighting. They don't want them. They don't trust them. See? But it's different. It's a different war now. This here, people blowing themselves up. Life means nothing. See? And we're not geared for that. So I guess to me, that the president is doing a good job. I wouldn't want to see what's over there here. Follow me? We wouldn't be here sitting talking. Ain't this? Isn't this a good country that we can sit here and talk about it? We talk about our country and that, but it's sure a nice place to live. And some days it gets to be, if I stop at a bar and have something, they talk about the president, they talk about this. And it riles me up, I just say, you listen so much of it. Do you think you can do it any better? If you do, you should be doing it, Or maybe you should go over and fight the war. You ever been in the Army? No, well, then you should maybe get over there and see what you got, He has advised us to run this. You can't run it. I've been on a city commission. In a city, you can't run, one guy. I tried, but you can't do it. You got to depend on somebody else to carry out stuff for you. And just think what the president's got for you. If he gets wrong information, it goes wrong for you. People quit, they get fired, because of different things. But that's a thankless job. And I don't know, his vote is way down, popularity vote. See, but I gotta, I'm glad I live in Devil's Lake, North Dakota. I really do. I leave that door open at night, and I set a fan there and blow the cold air in. I leave this open there, but I got Killer here. He watches for me, my dog. And my wife said, you locked the door. Oh, yeah, I got her locked. But I know it won't lock. But you live here. I've lived here all my life. Who's who's going to come in? But I could see it. She tells me, lock the door when you go, during the day. And she sleeps in it. And I lock it then, and I use a key to get back in. But it's just nice to live here. And I don't know, where do yeah, Oaks. But, do you live in Fargo then when you're doing this and that? Yeah, I've been in Fargo to the vet's hospital. Man, I got lost in that town. They're tearing the road up the last time I was down there for about 5 miles coming this way, and I got my eyes glued to a sign that says 76th, where I turn off to the vet's hospital. And I miss it. And I get by it. I keep driving. All of a sudden, I'm in Fargo, and I know which direction I'm going. But, I never get back to the vet's hospital without asking. I stopped 5 times to find out. I said, can you tell me where the AmeriCare clinic is at? And the guy said, go right across the tracks. It's right there. That's how close I was to it. Once I got out of there, I knew I'm on Broadway then, see. I go down, I don't know, 4 or 5 stoplights, and I make a right, and it takes me right to the vet's hospital. But even Fargo, I'm not used to driving that. Years ago I did, but right now, no. Everything is, we're down to the doctor for my wife. And he's the guy, eye man, that shot stuff in her eye, to being in there, and we got lost. I knew where to turn off, where it says Bismarck. I turned off, but I turned too quick, after I made my turn. And we were lost for about an hour. Missed our appointment by 15 minutes. But we found her after asking. And I always said, I'm thinking, I marked territory. This comes from where I'm from Korea. I know there's a old Chicago restaurant where we've got to turn off to go to this doctor. And I just about went right, and I turned back. There it is right there. We're right here. Turned in and went down to exactly about where we were supposed to be. 15 minutes late. But old Chicago got me. You know where old Chicago is in Fargo? Yeah. That was my mark. When you get to old Chicago and you drive in there to eat, you just keep going down a few. And they got all these buildings, and all doctors are in there, That's where we ended up in there, yeah. But I landmark when I go, you know what I mean? Bismarck turn off, That's where I turn off. But I turned too quick. I should have went a little further. Then I got lost, see. But we made it. It wasn't bad. You think I was on a tourist, I was a tourist down there, but that was okay. I come out of there. When we got lost, I drove. I said, now we go down here to the sign, turn down here, and come right down to the old interstate and back out. See? But we did stop at old Chicago to eat. Didn't we? No. Is there anything else about what did you want to talk about?
I just have a couple of concluding questions for you. Why do you think it's important to tell your life story?
Maybe, just maybe, by telling you what I went through, saying that maybe you tell somebody else, and then somebody else said, boy, do I want to do that? I want them to learn by my mistakes I made, in there and that. And I think that we take everything for granted. We do. That this thing is going to disappear, or you know what I mean in that there. War don't disappear. And once you've seen what happens in war, it, I don't know, maybe, like I said, by me saying my little thing, no big hero or a darn thing, maybe someone will pay attention and say, I never thought of that, But you get in a strange deal, and I'll tell you, I've had, you say, oh, I hate and they send you someplace. I don't know, I have a map of Korea, I do now, but you take this road here and go here. And I'm not saying I made the right turns all the time, but the bulk of the time I did. And I, something my Holy Spirit, I'll probably say, or, you tell the guys, oh, Holy Spirit. But something told me inside to turn or do this or not. See? And a lot of people won't believe that. But if you get in a situation when things are really bad, and if things aren't supposed to happen, something inside tells you, turn here, do this, or you know what I mean, and that. And like I said, I went to Lutheran services, I went to Catholic services. I spent Christmas there in Korea, you know. And I was done sitting around. I thought, well, Christmas Eve, what are you doing Christmas Eve? You know, here, eat and done. It's another day. And they did come around with a bus and said, did anybody want to go to midnight mass? I was right in the first seat in that bus. And we drove and drove and drove and drove. Pretty soon we got to a big open area. One big tent in there. And that's where they had midnight mass. I don't know how many people were in there, but there were a lot, all standing, you know. And they're all singing, you know, and that there. And it really gave you a good feeling. Went to communion, you know, went to midnight mass and that. And then you go all the way back where you're in a tent, and you're, you know. I say, geez, it was a nice evening. You know, I really had a nice night tonight, you know, I mean, of that. And I think of, you gotta, if you're a boy like me, homesick boy, never really been home. Now I miss Christmas. I've always been home for Christmas. All of a sudden, I'm not home for Christmas, and I'm all alone. That makes you think, I don't even know the guy next to me. I don't know the guy that's driving this bus. But I'm depending on him that he's going to take me where I want to go, not to blow me up or something, you know. And in this camp, I got to tell you too, where the base camp, you know, with all these officers, they run movies, maybe once a week, twice a week, in there. So we could go over there, drive in there, and see a movie. See, and what they did, they warmed up the tent we were in with a helicopter's heating thing. Before they could get a helicopter to take off, they had to heat the motor up. This motor run like a furnace and blasted this heat in there. And usually it stayed pretty warm in there till we were ready to go again. But we could watch a movie or watch something that was going on. Anything was better, you know. It wasn't the best conditions in the world, you know. But it was a movie that you could see, but it was just something different, you know. I drove out of my way about 15 miles, and I picked up a friend of mine who was up on the front at night. I picked him up and brought him back. He said, I got to get out of here. So I said, I unloaded some ammunition and stuff there, and I said, well, I think they got a movie tonight. I'll come and pick you up. He said, you can pick me up? I said, my truck. So I took him up there. I went up there in the daylight, picked him up, brought him back, and the time we went back, it was dark. Don't think this old boy wasn't worried. All I got is a carbine in there, you know, with me and that, you know, and I hauled him all the way back. And again, now somebody watched over me. See, doing something you're not supposed to do and doing it when you know you shouldn't do it at night, you know, and I did it. But I got there, I picked him up in the daylight, I brought him back at night. And I got back, drove up and back. Yeah. Say, just a little ways down from us was a First Rock unit, the South Koreans. And the general came back that night, wasn't too far from us, and he found the guy sleeping on guard duty. You know what he did? Shot him in the head. He didn't wake him up, he just shot him. That's a fact. That's not a lie. And the prostitutes shouldn't have been up where we were at, you know. 4 of them over the hill were shot. They found them up there and they killed them. They didn't monkey with that stuff, see? And who is your friend? You get into war, I mean, you can send you home and you get shot by somebody else, you know. So I kind of always minded where I was at. But these things do happen in war, you know. And it's guys that are going to take the chance where they figure they're back far enough, we're going to do that, and nothing's going to happen. Don't believe it. You talk to these guys that you're over there hauling gas right now. I see on TV, they got big tankers. I had, say, 16, 18 barrels on the back, and I had maybe 100 cans, 200 cans, 5-gallon cans, you know. But I didn't drive a tanker. you know, and them guys are burnt, you know. And I watch it, and deep inside it churns, you know, with me. But there's nothing I can do. I got to sit here, you know what I mean? And I, like the president says, you want to fight this terrorist war here in this country, or do you want to fight it over there? And the biggest, I think our biggest people is our news media. They blow everything out of proportion, you know, out of that, and they get people worked up for what they tell them. And some people are followers. They don't think for themselves, see? And think for yourself. Read your paper. Watch the news. It ain't all that. I just talked to a friend of mine, young man, that just went over there before at the paint store, where I got to know him well. Run into him out at Wally's. He was home for 2 weeks, and he's going back. I said, how is it? Balzer, he said, it's tough. I said, remember what I told you. Keep your head down.
Are there any final thoughts you'd like to share on your life or why
I've had a good life.
Yeah.
I really have. I'm 78 years old, but I say I'm 77 because it's got a better ring. They ask how old you are, I say 77. If I told them there's 78, they said that's an old man. See? So it sounds better at 77. But I really have had a good life. I've had good experience. The man upstairs has been good to me. I had you know, and everything. And my marriage has been good. Married 50 years. 54 years. Couldn't tell you haven't had spats or what, you know, because that's not true, see? But you iron them out. If the thing is, if the arguments that we've had, say, in marriage at 54 years, on an argument, I'm getting a divorce, see, now today. No. You sit down and talk about it. And it always seems this starts them. Money. And that's always, you know, that's always going to be, you know. But in a marriage is sacrifice, you know, between you and your wife, you know. And it takes two to split a marriage or keep it together, you know. So I'd have to say my brothers and sisters have done a wonderful job. And like I say, in a year or two more, we'll have nine. If my sister, you know, lives longer than my brother, that'd been married 50 years. 9 out of one family is not bad, huh? So I've had a nice interview with you. I've enjoyed it. I have enjoyed out the cemetery with you, showing the Devil's Lake Cemetery, which we have a nice cemetery, you know. And like I say, they say, what's nice about a cemetery? Well, it is nice. Like I told you out there, there's more living out there than there is dead. The rabbits, the birds, everything else is out there living, you know. The deer that are in there and that, you know. So it has life too, you know. And somebody said to me a long time, no, I heard a long time ago, lived on the other side of the cemetery, and the man said, aren't you scared to go through that cemetery when you're going home? I mean, through that cemetery? The man said, no, I only go through there when I'm going home. Think about it. I only go through there when I'm going home. Right? Yeah. Give me a little kiss. Come on, give me a kiss for the camera. Huh? Come on, give me a kiss. Come on, give me a little kiss. Thank you. For the camera. For the camera. Oh, you're a good puppy.
Well, thank you so much for
No, thank you. I've enjoyed it, to the two of you, you know. And, you know, you wonder sometimes, what do they want to talk about?
It was a fabulous interview.
And I told you most of my experiences in the war, you know what I mean? But when I think, you know, like I just told you, when I think that it's never happened, I want to leave it that way. See? And I have, like I said, yes, I know, we'll go pretty soon. You know, to the kids in school and talk to them. I've done that. And I, you know, went to the middle school and went to talk to the kids in the grade school and they took the camera, and when we talked, and I had to sign one of them permits because they're going to use it in the classroom. I'm only telling you, what happened to me is different to another guy who will disagree or whatever they want to do. All I know is I served my country, and I'm proud of that. You see my hat, and I'm American all the way through, clean through my shorts, really. And why? Because my dad came here from the old country, and he gave me a place to live where I don't have to fight or anything, you know what I mean, in there. And I owe the country something. And I think if a lot of people would understand, if you owe this country something. We don't owe you nothing. What does Kennedy say? What can I do? What can you do for your country? Or what can my country do for me? No, what can I do for my country? Yeah. Oh, you owe that to me. I'm an American. You owe me that. Well, I say if you want something that's like anything, get off your dead hind end and work. Anything worth having has got to be worth working for. And I tell you this, you look around, couch, chair. And I said to my kids over at the other house, they're ready. I can't wait for you kids to leave the house. Just can't wait. I said, I'll tell you this. I can go buy a new couch and a new chair, and I won't have to put up with all that jelly bread and sandwiches on my couch and peanut butter all over the couch and that. You know what? I got a new couch and I got a new chair. She's just not the same, kid. There it is on the wall. That's all I got. Some days you'd like to sit there and say, I wish my grandkids were here so you could talk to them, I have a grandson in town. He stops by and we talk, And I try to stay in communication with the young people, I go to the end of the line. It's a bar over here, Since December, I've been drinking pop, 7-Up, or I've been drinking water, charged water and that there. And I said I just had a couple of beers here the other day, and it's been all that time, 6 months. And I like it because I run into so many young people. You get to know them once. I know young girls, they say hello in a restaurant or something, all of a sudden they see in a bar, hello, Mr. Kurtz, how are you, And that just gets things, what I'm lonesome for is the bull. Being a painter and setting up all this painting and, for planning and setting all this stuff up is, I don't know, it's just wonderful to be talking to somebody. And it's wonderful when a guy gets up in the back row and says, now I understand what you're talking about. Give that guy the job. Yeah, see. So that makes you feel good, I get letters from people I painted for, always shared them with the guys. I'm only as good as my help. I run, like they say, how do you run? 1 to 10 painting? I'm a 10. I'm a number 1 boy. No complaints. If you work it the other way, I have to go to 1 then, No. Anything that I ever painted, I went back. I always went back. But I satisfied my customer,